Hi, Kristen Atchison, and we're still talking about the brain and behavior. Right now, we're going to talk about how genes and the biological nature of our genes really affects our behavior and how our behavior can affect our genes as well. So kind of a brief, very brief genetic overview and a review from high school biology. We know that our genes, our genetics, are made up of different pieces. The bigger piece of this is our chromosomes, okay? So here in this picture, this is that X-shape guy here. And what our chromosomes do is they store and they transmit genetic information. This genetic information is made up of our DNA. And we all know that these are these long, double-stranded molecules that make up chromosomes. And what we also know is that a segment of DNA along the length of a chromosome is where we'll have a gene. So here is a little bit more simplistic picture. We'll see a strand of DNA here, and there's a segment is broken up into two separate genes. And so what we'll see is how these play out affect both our environment, and our environment will in turn affect our genes as well. So again, sticking with high school biology here, our genotype is that genetic heritage. It's those actual genes that we have. Now, once you add in the effects of experience, how the environment alters our genetic traits, what you get is a phenotype. What you get is those observable characteristics. Both are physical and psychological. So our genotype is kind of just our actual DNA, our actual genes. But again, our environment is going to alter this, and is going to change this, and is going to change how these things are being expressed. And how these things are being expressed is what we can see, these observable characteristics in some way. And again, this is our phenotype. And this is a product of this gene and environment interaction. This is really seen well in epigenetics. Epigenetics is a study of genetics where they look at how genes are turned on and off. So epigenetics actually means above the genes. Epi means above. So this is like above the genes, right? These genes above our genes. And where it really is how the environment, how different environmental interactions can turn these genes on and off. There's a video that I've assigned on iCollege that I'd like you to watch about that as well. It's really, really fascinating. And it really looks at it from the perspective of biological clones. And you're like, wait, cloning humans? What? We do have clones, and they're called twins. They're called monozygotic twins. And the way that we use twins allows us to study behavioral genetics. So there's two kinds of twin studies that we typically look at. We look at dizygotic twins, and this means there was two separate eggs. And because there was two separate eggs, these are two separate zygotes, which are turned into babies. Because of this, dizygotic twins, or fraternal twins, are the same as just any other sibling pair. So me and my brother are 6 years apart. If we had been born at the same time, we would have the exact same kind of percentage of similar genes as we do being born 6 years apart. There's not really going to be any differences. It's not that fraternal twins are more genetically similar than any other sibling pair. Now, monozygotic twins are where those genetic clones come in. They have one egg that is fertilized by one sperm, and that sperm splits, that zygote then splits into two separate cell clusters and develops into two separate babies. And so what we have here is a natural example of genetic cloning. And it allows us to study multitude of different things. And this is where the study of behavioral genetics really came out of. Initially was twin studies, and now we have some other things at our disposal as well, but this is kind of where it started with. So twin studies in adulthood, so that identical twins, these monozygotic twins, are more alike than fraternal twins in several things. That we see that in personality, in terms of extroversion, in terms of emotional instability. We see it in things as like behaviors and outcomes, such as the rate of divorce that you'll hear talked about some in that epigenetics video. Then also things like intelligence and other kinds of abilities as well. We've also found more similarities in identical twins that were raised apart. So we used to have a lot of, when there were a lot more adoptions, not necessarily as much attention was paid to keeping identical twins together, or keeping twins together as a whole. And so in the past, we had a lot more of these twins raised apart kind of situations. These were ample breeding grounds for really interesting natural experiments, because what we have is different environments with the same genetic clones. And so what we found in these kinds of studies is that there are similarities despite the fact that they grew up in completely different areas and environments, in personalities, styles of thinking and relating, the abilities and intelligence scores, attitudes, interests, specific fears, and even down to brain waves and heart rate. So we know that genetics plays a huge role in this. But what's really interesting is that at the genetic level, some of these things can be turned on and off. And again, watch that epigenetics video because it does a great job of explaining that. Okay, this ends our conversation on behavior and genetics. Thanks.